welcome everyone to this month's episode of the Timekeepers. Just a reminder, we're on YouTube. So the last episode we had was a deep dive into Cartier, and we actually had a winner for the Insta shot, a great Insta shot from Free Hands Pics, which kind of depicted a black and white photo of a yachtmaster in the Baltic. So well deserved. So shout out to them. So this episode, we have something slightly different. We'll be discussing Tim's visit to Time+Tide and how he found that. Also, our visit to Lyon Turbull recently, hosted by Charles for their watch auction preview. We'll also be interviewing a special guest, which we will introduce shortly, and a deep dive into Patek Philippe. So today we're welcoming Xi. Welcome Xi, a watch enthusiast and a horology artist from Melbourne. Welcome Xi. How are you?
Hello.
Awesome. It's
I'm
lovely.
good.
Lovely to have you.
Wonderful.
Next, we'll be moving on to our wrist checks. So I think we'll start off with Tim, and we'll go from there.
Evening, everyone, or morning if you are indeed in Australia. So I've got my Baltic on. Hang on, can everyone see that? So it's the Baltic Prismic, the lapis dial, the special edition that came out, and there's only, was it 250 or 200 of there was the jade, there was the lapis, and there was the agates as well. So absolutely loving it. Before I hand over to someone else, obviously I went to Breitling the other month, didn't I, Zach? And I talked about the merch. So I actually went back in and I bought a jumper so everyone can see. It's the collaboration between Deus Ex Machina and Breitling. So hang on, other way. There we go, right there. So I had to get it. It was expensive for a jumper, I'm not going to lie, and there was a hoodie as well, which is even more expensive. But I thought it's cheaper than buying one of their watch straps, and it's cheaper than buying one of their watches. So the temptation left me, and I got this instead.
Awesome.
There you go. Watch merch. Cool. I'm handing over to
Sure.
Zach,
And this one's not
what
new
have
to
you
the
got on your
listeners
list?
or viewers who've seen previous episodes. So I actually have on my Cartier, my Cartel watch, not Cartier actually. Homage to Cartier, I guess, because of the Santos kind of case shape. But it's Cartel independent watch brand based in Scotland. And actually was gifted by my girlfriend last year. So it's quite cool. It's on a little bit of a tartan strap and kind of has like a Santos, like a homage style case. How about you, Xi?
I've got my little Breguet, which is my
very
go-to
nice.
watch for the weekday. But it's a little bit special. It's a watch that I worked hard for. So every time I wear it, I think, wow, it really is beautiful. And Tim, if I'd known you'd be wearing a Breitling merch, I would have got my Breitling t-shirt.
Oh, wow,
we could
there
have
you
been
go.
matching Breitling.
They do good merch. I always complain that certain, how do I put this, more snootier watch brands, they don't do very good merch, whereas Breitling are very good. IWC have done some good things as well. So I'm not going to name the naughty ones, but they need to up their merch game, I think, a lot of them. So there you go. Yeah, but yay for Breitling, which is good. And I can say on the Breguet,
the tote bags, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I've got the tote bags as well upstairs. So that's all very good as well. Is it got Breguet hands that as well? The Breguet watch?
Of course, yes.
Wonderful, because some of them don't, you see, and I'm a bit like, what? They're missing it. But no, that does look really cool. Looks really cool.
Thank you.
Right,
I love Breguet hands, so that's partly why I got this one.
Yeah, I do love it. I've got a Omega from like the 1930s, which has got Breguet hands as well. So it's incredible. It's very, very small, sort of fine timepiece. It doesn't keep very good time because it is, almost 100 years old. But I do love it for the Breguet hands. Yeah. Wonderful. So I think, what are we going to do? It's watches, things we've done about watches this month. So as we mentioned Time+Tide, didn't we? So it opened in London, didn't it? And I think a bit of a false start for me. I think I went the day it opened or the day afterwards. I think there's a fire alarm, so I couldn't go up. So I had to go back the next day. But it was definitely worth the wait. It was really sort of, how do I put this, sort of unstuffy compared to many other watch shops. It sort of, wasn't sure what to expect. It was prime real estate, central London, but it was really, really good. And I had a good conversation with the deputy manager. I tried on a few of the watches. They're all sort of UK watchmakers. So there was the Fears Brunswick, which I absolutely love. It's got the sort of jump hour, and they had the black dial version, and it was sort of very satin sort of texture on the dial, and it's very Art Deco. I wanted the one that was a special edition that came out, was it last year, in the purple. It was really incredible. And I tried on a few Baltics. Obviously, I've got this Baltic one here, and I was always interested in the aquascape that they've got. They had a GMT version, and also had it in bronze, and it was mixed with like a sunblast blue dial, which was sort of akin to sort of a deep sea diver helmet that I really, really liked. Big fan of Farrier as well. Again, another sort of English watch brand. They've got a Californian dial model I've had my eye on for a long time. That wasn't in stock, but they did have their moon phases in. And they have this wonderful like pink dial. It's almost like a blood moon. And for me, the moon phase sort of takes center stage, and it's much larger than the traditional ones. And I really, really like it. But back to the store, I mean, I'd recommend, any watch fans sort of make the trip out. I think the space could be used for so many more events. I think they could be on for a winner. But see, you said you went to the one in Melbourne. You said once. What was that like?
It's really good. It gives you an opportunity to actually try on some of these brands, which is pretty hard to get your hands on, really, especially in Australia. So I really enjoyed that. And they have events quite regularly. So it's also a good meetup place for watch enthusiasts in Melbourne.
Yeah, brilliant. So what kind of brands do they have then over there? It's not the British ones, is it? I mean, is there a few Australian ones, or is it just all over that they have the watch brands come over?
They have brands like Baltic and then Full and Murray, and then they have Studio Underdog, Hamilton, a bunch of brands.
No, cool. Zach, I mean, you just need to go, don't you? So I've told you, just go out right now. Tomorrow.
I wasn't even aware that they had one in Melbourne, so that's really cool to hear, Xi, that they had some cool brands there. Also great to see independent watch brands in the Melbourne one. You've kind of mentioned, Xi, and then also what you've mentioned, Tim. It's great to see them showcasing some awesome independent brands, because I don't think they get as much light. So I'm definitely going to plan my visit. I mean, I've seen and heard a lot about the Time+Tide location, so I'm definitely looking forward to kind of catching up and spending some time there.
Cool. I think we're going to talk about our Lyon Turnbull sort of private viewing, aren't we? It was a great courtesy to be invited, to see up close. We had Charlie on a couple of podcasts ago, and he's just a great guy. He's traveled the world. He's seen so many things, so many great stories. Great to have a beer with as well. And like I said, we're well treated by Charlie and his friends. I think I lost count of the number of watches I actually tried on. But I think, Zach, you were so at home with his gold Rolexes, my friends. It was incredible. You really rocked those and pulled them off. Rolex isn't my biggest brand. I don't particularly like them that much, yes, but you were rocking it. So fair play to you. I did try on that vintage Reverso, didn't I? Which I really loved. Such a quality watch. And it had some awesome patina. There was a Bauer and Mercer piece that really caught my eye. It was very similar to the Cartier Cincher that I have with the orthogonal case. But this time it was in silver. I thought it was a lapis dial, but it was actually a different blue entirely. I've never tried on so many Rolexes before in my life. There was actually an incredible wood dial day date, and it had this amazing sort of gold bracelet. And I think I had the opportunity to try on a two-tone root beer GMT. Two-tone isn't really for me. Don't think I could pull it off. But I do really like the root beer bezel. It was mixed with the gold, so I thought that was pretty cool. Zach, you probably had a better time than I did with all those Rolexes. So
yeah, definitely.
Talk to me. How did you enjoy it? How did you find it?
I don't know if you know, Xi, but when we went, it was just like absolutely chucking it down. But we were greeted by champagne, so that was a plus. And then also Charlie did a great job. Lots of champagne.
Lots of champagne.
Yeah, he gave us kind of full reign to look through the range of different watches. Like Tim mentioned, some great day dates with the wooden dial, which was so cool. Root beers, yellow gold yacht masters, as you're probably familiar with the blue dial, with great stories behind them as well. The vintage, there was two vintage Rolexes, as Tim mentions, that were really incredible. I think the one that you mentioned, the day date with the wooden dial, I'd probably say is the one that was really stand out to me, just because I've never seen one in person. Also, there's a lot of great pieces around these watches, so it was lovely to hear them all, and Charlie really took his time to explain each one. I think there was one Patek clock, pocket watch rather, and had an incredible story to it, and I think it had an engraving in the back, and that was really cool to see. It's always good to see variations, not just watches. as well as various few Pateks, which is on brand because we're speaking about Patek now or today. So a few cool Patek models called Caltravas. And yeah, Charlie was really attentive, and yeah, we had a great time.
No, it was really, really good. I think they're having more as well online and maybe even in person. So we'll just shout out for everyone to go to Lyon Turnbull and check out the lots that they have for their watch auctions. Now, we mentioned Cartier. Now, we talked about it last time out. I thought we went through a lot of the range I wanted to discuss, and then, do you know what? I missed one. So I'm going to butcher the French pronunciation, but it's called the Baignoire Allongée, which I was YouTubing to check the pronunciation. I probably, like I said, butchered it. The Baignoire means long bathtub. So there you go, translated from French to English. And I suppose it's sort of uncrashing the crash. It looks like a crash, but actually not mangled up. I saw one sort of recently, and it had this almost like studded handbag-esque bezel, which is sort of crazy cool. I dropped it into our sort of chat now, so we can have a flick through. It's similar price to the Asymmetrique, so it's a fifth of the 200k crash. So obviously, use your maths and work out how much that is. So it's still a little bit pricey. But see, you've drawn one previously, and I've got the photo up here. I just wanted to ask, what drew you to that? Why did you do it? Because I think they look incredible. So just the floor is yours. Let's talk a little bit about that, if you like.
First of all, because of the shape. And given that it was a vertical piece of paper, it worked really well. Yeah. It's just so dramatic. And also it was a dial, I think it was Guillochade, I can't quite remember, but there must have been something on the dial that caught my attention as well. And with that long shape, when you have the numerals, it's also incredibly elongated. So yeah, really like the lines plus the round shape. Yeah.
Yeah. So how does it work? Does someone give you the watch? It's quite expensive, and they say just draw it, or is it just you see it and you have like an image up on the screen and you draw it, or is it in your mind's eye? Because I'm not an artist, and we'll get onto that. I appreciate art, but I can't do it.
It's not a mind's eye.
Oh, okay. Well, that's incredible, though.
I need a very high quality picture, so I go searching. If I really like a watch, I go searching for it. Old auction online catalogs are also really good. I know Christie's have really good images that you can just zoom in and see. Sometimes websites have really, like the actual websites have a really good image. For example, Lunga have really detailed images on their website. Some watch brands don't, and you're just sitting there going, I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I need a very detailed image or the watch.
Oh, nice. But I'm getting a sense that you love Cartier, though, which is a good thing, because I'm head over heels in love with Cartier. Very good. Zach, what did you think about it? The
first talking about the
uncrashing
watch
the crash
itself, I think it has an incredible design. It definitely shows Cartier's capabilities. Of course, we do know about their capabilities, but it kind of emphasizes that. Super unique watch. Wouldn't be a bad option, like given how much you said, how the price difference compared to the crash. So yeah, I definitely feel like I don't know how we missed it, but yeah, a great watch. And also Xi did an amazing job. I was just having another look at the drawing, and it's like, wow, it's almost as good as seeing one in person. Probably somewhat better than what some photos are of one. So yeah, great job to you as well, Xi.
Thank you.
That's very good. Yeah, well, we'll flash these up on screen for those watching on YouTube as well. So that's why we've moved over to visual. Yes, people like a watch podcast, but I want to see these watches and I want to see them while we're talking about them. So like I said, we'll flash them up on screen so everyone to see. So I think we're going to pivot to watch news. We're a podcast and sort of YouTube channel where we don't always talk about watch news because we're not journalists, and other people can do it far better than us. But there are some things that stand out across the span of 4 weeks to a month that I really just want to talk about. And the first one is Tudor did a special release. So it was a black base ceramic blue for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. And as people that know me, I love Formula One. I haven't done Formula One Adelaide or Formula One Melbourne, but I will get there eventually. Sadly, it's not for sale. It was just for the RB F1 racing team and the drivers to have. It was such a fun watch. I know IWC did their chronograph a few years ago for the Miami Grand Prix, and that was in the Petronas green. The dial for this one is almost a play on aventurine, so it's like blue, green, turquoisey, and it's got like specks of white, almost like paint splatter. and the strap sort of matches it as well. And it's got white indices and the hands as well that are white, and they sort of pop, and it creates this sort of great color contrast with the dark ceramic bezel and case. And I actually think I'd have this, even though it's not for sale, over the IWC. Although, you know, I love Mercedes, I love IWC, I do love that Petronas green. This one is just really crazy and just really fun, and I would love a fun, like, paint splattered watch. I think, again, not for sale. Don't know what the price would be, even if it was. But,
I think.
What do you think, Zach? Is it a little bit too over the top?
Eye of beholder. Not to say that it's a bad looking watch, but it's an interesting concept. I like the black ceramic, that's for sure. I think the kind of blue into turquoise is quite cool, and it kind of gives it a bit of a summer tone, or Miami, I guess Las Vegas tone. But I'd probably say it's a bit more Miami, like the IWC with the water. My only struggle is it is quite punchy. What would you wear it with? I don't know. That's a bit of a tricky one. So yeah, so great.
I have no idea
what outfit you'd pair that with, or whether you just be like,
exactly,
forget it, I'll just wear it with anything. Who cares? But yeah, I guess it's cool, and it's good to see new things come out. It's always good to have new things in the watch industry, other than bland, like monotonous, repetitive kind of updates on models that we already kind of know about. So yeah, definitely an interesting news topic.
No, definitely. And then we're just going to talk about, again, I said I loved Cartier. My draw to watches is Omega. I absolutely love them. More vintage stuff. But this time it was an Omega Seamaster Diver 300M in titanium and bronze gold. So again, it's got a green dial as well, and bronze and green. I absolutely love. I've got the Oris Big Crown pointed date that I'm just, like I said, head over heels over with. And this is the No Time to Die version. So it's a quality bond watch. It's got the Milanese bracelet, which is simply the best, although the price is silly. It's got, like I said, I love green dial watches. It's actually textured. If you like zoom in, it's almost like a moss color. It blends so well with the bronze and the gold. And let's not forget, I do love a good lollipop secondhand, which it's got. It's a really premium product. And I actually popped in store last week on the off chance, and they actually had one, and it feels great on the wrist. It's actually really, really light. I thought it'd be a bit heavier. You almost forget that you're wearing it. It's incredible. Again, the price is a couple more thousand on top of the sort of base model, and I don't know if it's justifiable, but either way, incredible watch. Absolutely loved it. Zach, what do you think about it? And then Z will bring you in as well. I don't know if
Omega smashed it. I love what they've done with the two-tone, and like you as well, I love a lollipop hand as well. I guess the lightweightness comes from the titanium, and that does a good enough job. Although bronze gold is quite heavy. I did see the photo that you sent over to me, and I feel like just in person, it looks even better than the photos that I've seen online and that you've actually sent online. It's great to see the Milanese strap again back on a modern watch also. And who doesn't love a green dial also? So yeah, love the two-tone, love the bezel. I love that the crown as well is the same color as the kind of bezel. That's quite a nice play on design as well. So yeah, great watch. What's your thoughts, Z?
Oh, I think I've seen the picture that Tim sent through. It looks great. I think the texture just looks really like subtle, but also very textile. So that would look great, I think, if you had it on your wrist and you looked at the time and looked at it closely. The way that they've done the two-tone is very nice. It's like, it's got, like, the crown matching the bezel, and it's like on top. Sitting on top. So yeah, I really like it. Very bold. I think it'll look really great.
No, it's very good. It's very good. So I think we're going to move over to watches for lusting over. And I think, Zach, you're up first. So what is the watch that you just drawn to this month that, if money was no object?
Yes, indeed. It's an exciting part of the show or podcast. Watches for lusting over. Yeah. There's always so many, isn't it? There's always
my favorite.
But I managed to whittle it down to one for this show, this episode. So for me, it's actually a lady's watch, so slightly smaller watch, and it's a Patek Philippe Gondola with a lapis dial. I know, Tim, you're quite a big fan of lapis dial, so this one has a lapis dial, and I love, and I love the kind of Art Deco kind of shape, as well as the 18K yellow gold. I feel like it contrast that lapis dial so well, and I love the simplicity of the dial. Although it might be quite hard to tell the time with this specific watch, I kind of feel like that's not necessary when the watch looks so good. So yeah, this is my watch of the episode, 18K Patek Gondola.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. I do like it. I mean, like I said, you talked about ladies' watches, men's watches. I know it might be quite small, but I think if you rocked up to that in like a cocktail bar, that's still really impressive. And it's lapis, so for me, it's lapis for the win. That's great, and I like the gold hands as well. They go really well with the straps. That's pretty cool. So, see, I'm going to give you time to think about what watch you're losting over. So I'll go into mine now, and then you can have a bit of a think. Unless you've got one right in your head, it's like, oh, I absolutely want this right now. But I'll talk about mine. It's Laventure. So they're a French micro brand, but not with micro prices. I'm not going to say what the price is, but go check them out. And it's the Transatlantique 2 GMT. Surprise, surprise, it is green and bronze. There's a theme here. It's got a lollipop second hand. Again, love the lollipop second hands. It does have a date window. And again, boo hiss, I don't like date windows. It breaks the symmetry. But I actually can look past it because it's so beautiful. It's got a lovely clean dial. It really pops. It's sort of aquatic green mixed with like a yellowy cream markers and hands. And it's almost got like a sort of ribbed dark green sort of rubber strap that makes it look really robust. Actually, I was doing a bit of doom scrolling on Instagram and some joy, not doom, came up in my feed. And it was actually Sam from the Watchers who we had on a while ago now. I think it was in the summer. And she's a great sort of watch dealer. And she actually had one in her store just this week with the cream dials, not the green dial, but the cream one. And it was also so tempting. But obviously the price does put you off somewhat. But again, if money was no object, I definitely want to add that to my collection. So see, what have you got that you'd absolutely love to have?
Well, I thought about stealing Zach's because that's a beautiful watch. And I always have a weakness where the bracelet is done in precious metal, but like a jewelry bracelet, it just weaves into the watch and it looks beautiful. Also reminds me of the Piaget.
Absolutely.
Similar one. Yeah. I don't have a watch that I'm lusting after this month, but I've got two watches that I would like to eventually get. One is a Cartier, just a Tank Louis.
Nice.
Probably a manual but I haven't quite decided on which one. So that's sort of like a long term, see what comes up and see condition. And the other one is a smaller vintage Patek Calatrava. So.
Oh, excellent. We're going to talk about that a bit later on.
I've been following it on Chrono24 for a couple of years.
Oh, there we go. We might want the same one.
Very upsetting. It's very upsetting every time I look back and I go, oh, I should have gotten it, how many years ago. But yeah, it's on my watch
list. But it will only go up. It will only go up. So you might as well buy it now. And then in 20 years, you'll be like, oh, it's double now. So there you go. Great choice. It's very beautiful. Good choices. And I think the Hodinkee, their magazine, obviously it's up. Left is right and right is left on the screen. If you can just see it up there, that's the older edition up there. But I think their latest one, I don't know if you get it in Australia because you've got to import it into the UK from the US. I think that their main spread is actually about the Tank Louis. So for those listeners that don't already know,
there we go.
Definitely pick up a copy.
One.
Exactly. They're a bit pricey though, the magazine, but most things are when it's to do with. Yeah, so we will move on to Insta shots of the month. So I'll go first, and I always have three because I can never whittle it down. Zach, you need to have more than just one. You need to build them up. So we've got Watch Burger, and they've got this wonderful sort of black-white image with his Tudor Pelagos. In color, but it's wrapped around a guitar, which I think is incredible. So we've had other people on skateboards doing still shots and then doing reels, but to actually have it wrapped around a guitar, I think is pretty cool. I've done like a watch and trainer shot before, but I think it's taking it to like another level to have a guitar. It is very rock and roll. So I do really, really like that one with his Tudor blue Pelagos. And then we've got shout out to Lyon Watches. It's a beautiful macro of a cabochon of his gold Cartier Santos. I put them in our chat, Z and Zach, so you can look through them. And he's got like a reel of them. It shows off this gorgeous bracelet. And as you know, I'm not one for bracelets. I'd rather have a leather strap or a NATO strap. But it's sort of it's a more masculine, if I can say that, cabochon. It's like a nut and a bolt as opposed to like a pointy sort of pointy base. I think maybe we should make a section of Tim's favorite cabochon shots of the month, because I keep on bringing up Cartier so much. But there we go. Yeah, maybe we should do maybe a spin-off, like a 5-minute short of just of cabochons. I'm definitely the only listener to that, but there you go, and speaker probably. And then there's the famous vintage watch seller, which everyone knows, and that's Avocado Vintage Watches, and they had this rare hand-painted Gerard Perregaux. Again, we'll flash it up on screen because, again, however I talk about it, it's never going to do justice to what you can actually see. Each indice is sort of 2 black-white rectangles, and it's got a symmetrical grey dial, which almost complements the black and the white. And it's got really simple, sort of thick, white baton hands that add like an extra pop. I've personally never seen anything like it. I just wanted to share it, my Insta finds to our listeners and viewers. I have no idea how much it is, but if you rocked up with that, people would stop and stare and ask you loads of questions. It's not like, oh, I've got a Rolex or whatever. This is a genuine like conversation starter. It's an incredible, beautiful watch. So that's sort of my 3. Zach, I don't know what you think about those. And then obviously we'll hand over to your watch shot that you really like. And then obviously you get to pick one.
Those are like some great shots that you've kind of picked up there. First of all, starting with that shot wrapped around the guitar. I feel like that's really quite something. I don't know how you find these really creative shots, but first, I think it was one in the sand, or someone surfing in the sand, but correct me if I'm wrong, but like that one was really cool. This one that you got there. Also the cabochon, I know you have an obsession with cabochon, so I'm not surprised that there's a feature there, but I do think this is really incredible and a cool concept to see different angles of it throughout the slides, and also the detail in that shot. You can almost see each like dimension of the cabochon. I don't think that close up before. And then lastly, the Gerard Perregaux, I think it's quite cool. It's quite a funky sort of dial, quite playful, simplistic, and a really neat watch and a great shot as well. Actually, with the background, the texture of that background, it looks like it's lying on some sort of fabric, checkered fabric, which kind of make for like a decent background for such a playful watch. So yeah, there's a great combination of shots right there. For me,
what have you picked?
I picked some shots from a shot from Dadson watch. I was going to say some shots, but I've only picked one. Maybe I do need to do more and find some more creative shots. But I picked my shots from Dadson watches, and it basically shows. Maybe it will probably pop up on screen. Is an array of different watches in the palm from Dadson and watches. Some watches in this shot. Some of the watches in the shot are brands from Cartier to JLC to Patek, to name just a few. Definitely have a look on their site to see the rest of the kind of watches on there. And it comprises of watch heads all on the palm with like a kind of tree trunk background. So I thought that was quite cool and very creative. And it's lovely to see different dials, the case sizes. They all have kind of funky sort of shapes, different colors, different precious metals as well. So I believe those make for a great shot. So that's my watch shot of the month.
Yeah, it's like I really like this one because it's almost like a number of jewels in your hand. I can't believe they must be so tiny to get. Always got huge hands to get so many in this like watch palm. And I didn't look at it. I apologize for not looking at it as closely as I should have done. The one right at the top, the Universal Genève, is almost like a bottle cap or something. If you zoom in, it's incredible. I do really, really like that. I think that's really, really nice. See, I don't know what you think about the 4 that we showed you. Is there any one for you that sort of stands out that you really like?
Well, while you were talking, I went and followed Dad and Son because that is a very impressive handful of watches.
Yeah.
So I like that one. Also like the that GP is so fun.
Yeah.
Like those hands, it's so fun. But the cabochon macro shot, I love that you can see all the scratches and how it's been done as well. So I'm also a huge cabochon person. So apart from having brigade hands, the other one that I wanted is this one also has a cabochon. So
Nice.
also
We'll have two listeners then. Two listeners.
yeah,
Me
yeah,
and you just
me
listening.
and you will be. Also send you my favorite cabochon shots. So.
Exactly. They need to do more colours. I got another podcast. They have to have a green one, I think, because obviously they have red ones for some special editions, and obviously they have the blue one. But I think green would be incredible. Purple would be another one. So I'm taking us off piece here, off the script, but yeah, do love them. Cool. And Zach, you've got to pick your favourite one. So which one do you think is the best? We did talk about it before we went on air, but yeah, which do you like?
I think I was going with Watchburger, but I have to go with Ilian watches, and I just think it's because of the kind of detail in that shot, like what Xi mentioned, the scratches on the cabochon, the detail and the kind of the actual cabochon itself, the jewel gem, the fact that each slide has a different kind of angle, different kind of shot. I think that's super impressive and super creative. I haven't come across it before at all, so I'd say. Yeah, Ilian watches. Although I do believe that Watchburger's shot was very creative, and I do like the contrast from the blue dial with the kind of black and white background of the person holding the guitar.
Yes, it's like tell them what they win.
Yeah,
I'll
definitely.
flash it up. But
so the winner
they've won.
receives something very important, and that is a timekeeper's beer mat. So that will be heading to the winner. So congrats to them for a wonderful shot, and yeah, I hope you enjoy the beer mat.
No, brilliant. Like I said, we love watch merch on this show, which is why we went beer mats. And I said before in a previous pod, for my wedding, our save the date cards were beer mats. People have magnets and everything else, but I was like, no, let's go for beer mats, and people have still got them still. So that's why I think they're impressive. So other people have mugs, that's great; they can have their mugs, but I like the beer mats. So very, very good. Now, I think we're going to move on to our interview with Xi. So we've got a number of questions for you. We'll probably alternate. So I'll ask the first one, and then Zach will go or whatever, and just give some sort of short answers. We may go off a bit on the deep end and deep dive on some of them, but the floor is very much yours to sort of say a little bit about yourself. I don't think I could do it justice. I think your artwork's incredible. I'm so glad you said yes to come on the show. I just saw it on Instagram again. It was a couple of months ago, and I thought I must interview her. This is incredible. This is so good. I've said before, I'm not an artist, but I really appreciate art, and I've got the idea in my brain, but I can never get it out to my hand to actually draw things. So hats off to you. I doff my cap to how good you are as an artist. So it's incredible. But just mention a bit about yourself before we jump into the questions, and sort of what brought you to do this kind of stuff.
What brought me to do this obsession, but so I'm Xi. I'm based in Australia, and I'm an artist. I love watches. I have loved watches for a very long time. But a couple of years ago, I was fortunate enough to open an Instagram and find very like-minded friends, and it's only gotten worse since.
Better, not worse. Very good. So I suppose what got you interested in watches to begin with? Was it a very young age? Did you have like a mother or father or grandfather that had watches, or is it just something you were just drawn to in another way?
So before I was born, my parents met in Shanghai, and they were both working watch repairs. So I guess the interest started there, and they were both interested in watches, not in the way that we are, just more that, you needed a watch, and that was what they did. So it was an object of, it was a luxury object, even though we might not have been talking about luxury watches, but it was like something that you had once you grew up. So it was something I look forward to.
Yes, I do indeed.
Lovely. Zach, you got the next question, I think.
Next question. So what got you interested into drawing them?
Lockdown, being stuck inside and not being able to see watches. So it was a lot of, internet scrolling, Instagram scrolling, Hodinkee scrolling, all of that. And I was stuck inside, not able to sort of see and do anything. So I started drawing the watches that I had, and then it turned into drawing watches that I didn't have, but that I wanted. And at the beginning, it was very casual, just sketchy. So definitely not the type of the sort of detail that I go into now. Is more sort of brush pens and textures that I had lying around. So if you really scroll down my Instagram, you see some very rough things going on.
No, they're all really good. I've looked at all of them. Honestly, I was so impressed. So it's really, really good. And what is it about watch design that you like so much? Obviously, you said before you're even born, there was almost like being drawn to watches. But it's because I don't know how a watch works. All I care about is beauty and aesthetics. So obviously, as an artist, there must be that element of aesthetics that really draws you to begin with. Or is there something else, a particular thing about watch design that makes you pick up a pen and start drawing?
I think first and foremost, it's something that I'm interested in. So, drawing something that you're interested in is always better. And before I actually got my first watch myself, I don't think I would have been interested in drawing them. It's more sort of, other than the design, it's also the tactile feeling of a really well-made watch. It just feels like something that should be, looked after and worn, and, more of a companion object. So there's that attachment as well. But I mean, there's a lot going on in watch design. It's very interesting. I like color, I like shapes, and I like texture. So, and a watch has all of that.
No, nice. Because I suppose you could argue a watch is a piece of engineering. It's meant to tell the time.
Yes. Yeah.
But you sort of take that piece of engineering, but you're turning it into an art and putting it, sort of transferring it onto paper. I mean, it's amazing sort of doing that step change. Like I said, I'm completely bowled over that you're able to do it. We set up this sort of watch account and Instagram and stuff because we appreciate these things, but we could never produce anything like this. So like I said, hats off to you for doing that.
So,
Zach, you got the next question.
How long does it take from your idea to design to drawing a piece? So from the concept to like execution.
Drawing, as in starting to draw, finishing to draw, or everything encompassed together.
From start to begin.
I think everything.
It depends. It depends. Yeah, it depends on the watch. And sometimes I feel like the more complicated the watch is, the easier it is, because you've got so much that you need to put on the piece of paper, and you just go through the process and it gets done. The ones that take longer are the ones that are sort of more simple, but you want to emphasize something about them or be a little bit more experimental. That I find takes a lot of heartache too, because halfway through it might not turn out the way you like.
Yeah. But I'm going to pin you down though on this. So is it that you can just, I don't know, design something in like a day or a few hours, or is it over a week, or is it something that you do for a few hours, go away, and then 3 days later you pick up the pen? Because I don't know, for me, when I do a task, I normally have to just keep going. But I know some people, particularly artists, they'll do something, they've dispelled all their energy, they're really tired because they've been so focused, and then they come back again, a couple of days later, or even like weeks or months later.
It's definitely that. I come back weeks and months later. Trying to think. It's definitely not a couple of hours. I have a day job, so I do this after work. And then on something like the latest piece that I finished, came back from work, had some dinner, finished up a couple of things and start drawing. I look up, it's like 3 a.m. in the morning. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I've got to go to bed, come back to it a little bit later. You need time to think about it. It's what I try to explain is that there's a lot of people talk about a time period in the middle of when you're doing your artwork. Like, it starts off, you have great ideas and you think it's going to look wonderful. You've got to be positive about it. You do a little sketch, it still looks wonderful. And you start drawing, and there's this middle period where it doesn't quite end up looking like you think it's going to look like, and it's disaster and everything's ugly. So you need to take a bit of a break and then you've got to get positive again and come back to it.
Definitely. I mean, if you had the watches in the flesh and they were working, you would be able to see the time. So when you said it goes to 3 a.m, you'd be able to notice. So
yeah, exactly. You've
Got to get people to
shows you
send
how
you lots of
though,
watches. Yeah, those Patek are just going to send you a watch now because of this, and then you'll be able to tell the time and then draw some wonderful pieces. The
Patek,
Calatrava,
please,
definitely.
I'll get some great inspiration if you send me a watch.
Exactly. For me, what is the most sort of challenging aspect of portraying time through art? I mean, I wouldn't know how to answer that question, but you're the artist, so perhaps you could give a sort of sneak peek into how your mind works and how you're able to draw the things that you're able to draw and paint.
I think it's because it's an object, it's a product, one that many of us have. So it's not something that I bring to your attention for the first time, and you can be like, wow, that's a great concept. It's something that people who see the painting won't be familiar with. So I guess before I start, I think about, well, what can I bring to this watch or to this artwork that will be either a different perspective or highlight something that I like about it. It's more of an interpretation or perspective that I think takes up a bit of time.
No, that's a really good answer. Like I said, I see beauty, I perceive beauty of watches, but I can't do anything with it. Like I said, I can't draw. So it's great to have someone that can actually do that. I mean, there are very few, I think, watch artists out there. And like I said, it's great to have you on the show.
Indeed.
Zach, you got the next question.
So the next question. Can you describe the role of a precision, like in your drawings, and how important is accuracy compared to artistic expression?
Oh, I struggle with this because I want accuracy to be less important. But then a part of the watch enthusiast in me is like, you can't put a wheel train, like you can't put a train in the wrong place. You can't, actually get the parts wrong. So there's that too. But I also want my artistic expression to be in there. So it's like the question below that we just talked about, where I really struggle with what I want to show and what is not as important that I might not want to show. Because it's choice. If you put every single detail in there, it's just going to be as detailed as a photograph. So I want to, bring a little bit of myself into it. So that is a bit of a struggle. When I have time, I try to put that balance into more of a artistic, give more weight to the artistic side of it, expression side of it, and then less weight to the precision. And hopefully it still works. So it's a bit
That's
of an
awesome. It's
experiment.
always quite tricky, isn't it? Like kind of balancing the two. But it seems like you have a method in place, which is awesome to hear.
I don't always experiment. I feel like I don't do that quite as often, usually because it takes time and it doesn't work. So sometimes I might put accuracy a little bit more important, and I'll just do a nice looking painting and then be happy about it. But at the back of my mind, I'll think next time I'll try a little bit harder.
Well, it segues us on quite nicely. So we were going to, for our listeners and viewers, talk about some of the watches that you've drawn. So we'll start with the crash that you've done. So we'll flash it up on screen, and we've obviously got it on our phones now, and I'm sure it's seared into your head anyway. But this is definitely, I know crash as itself, as an object, is, I suppose, just destroys sort of design lines. The whole point of the watch is just to blow things up. But you've got so much more like artistic feeling in this, and just straight up drawing the watch. There's so much going on in the background as well as sort of the foreground. So you just want to like walk us through sort of the inspiration, and maybe even tell us how long this one took as well, because this probably feels like it's like months or something. But it's really, really incredible. So like I said, the floor is yours. Let's talk a little bit about that watch, and then we'll go through a few that I've sort of picked out, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, it took a little bit longer because this one's oil on canvas and just takes longer to dry in between. And comes from my love of the crash, but also, frustrations with it a little bit as well. Won't say much about anything else because I feel like it's up to interpretation. It's just, it's a nice one. What I liked about it was how the colours turned out. I think that worked pretty well. And the background is a holiday I went to. So that reference photo was on my phone. It just happened to be on my phone. And I thought, that would look quite nice with the crash. And I want it to be a little bit more twisted than it was. So it ended up being a little bit more twisted than it was. But yeah, that's one where I sat down and I planned a little bit and thought, here's something that I can add a little bit more into than rather than drawing just a straight up watch.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. And I really like the tank that you did, the red one, and you got the cabochon there. I just wanted to talk us through that one, like, the paper you used, what kind of sort of painting style that was and that kind of thing. It just looks really beautiful and it captures it perfectly, if you ask me.
Oh, thank you. That's one where it's quite simple. And because it's quite simple, it could end up being quite boring. But luckily, because we're talking about Cartier, they have colour. And they also have shape. So that's, I think, why it works out. And then I tried to add a bit more texture using sort of more dry brush. And yeah, that's how this one turned out. It's watercolor on paper. I think there must be some gouache in there. It's also the black's probably just ink.
No, very nice, very nice. And we're going to stick with Cartier again because I can't seem to move past it. But then nor can you, because you seem to like Cartier as much as me. Is the asymmetrique. So again, I love this watch. Again, the way you've captured it with the gold case, and then obviously you've got the blue steel hands as well, and the numbers as well. They just pop. But maybe talk us through that one.
That one was, so the gold is actually gold leaf, but synthetic gold leaf, because gold leaf can get pretty expensive. It's just got that shiny feel and it's very fun to play with. So it's like super, super thin and you paste it on and then you brush it off and it just kind of flies everywhere to get the vacuum cleaner out. So it's always a little bit of fun to do that. And on paper, it just, the light hits it and it just bounces off. It's really great. So I chose this one because of shape and because it's Cartier. It's going to be beautiful. And then blue hands and the cabochon always stand out. And also what I also like to do with the straps a little bit is to do the little bit of that dry brush, which is similar to like a Chinese painting technique. We do that quite often with rocks and mountains. So there's that one.
Cool. I really like the Grand Seiko that you did. It's almost like a macro. It's up close. Is it the silver birch one? I don't know whether or it's another one. But their dials are incredible. And Zach and I, we went into their store in London. And I never really liked them as a brand, or dare I say, not drawn to them. But Zach and I were talking before this, or just WhatsApping, and it's quite bleak in England at the moment, and a lot of my watches are kind of blue and quite summery. And I feel like I need like a darker, perhaps more depressing color. And they have these wonderful like autumnal ones or like grey, burn orangey ones. And they're just incredible. Maybe talk us through the Grand Seiko that you've got here, what the inspiration was and how you're able to pull it off, because the detail here is incredible.
I like Grand Seiko. I don't own a Grand Seiko. They don't fit me well, but I like their texture dials, especially because texture translates well into artwork. And the only way to really show that is to getting quite close. Otherwise, it gets lost in sort of the case shape and everything like that. So that's why this one is a close up. I just got great texture that you can do sort of with brush, but also like the hour markers are just really bold and just angular and there. So at the hands, so I like the contrast in that. And I think this one is probably just ink on paper. Yeah, I think
cool.
so.
Like I said, it is impressive. And I've got two more before I hand it over to Zach, if there's any he wants to pick out. And then obviously yourself, you might have a favourite that you've done that we haven't already discussed, or any others you want to bring up. And that is the Octo Fissimo, from the Bulgari. Again, it's got wonderful, like, it's angular watch, isn't it? There's lots of stuff going on. Again, I think it's a great piece that you've done. But maybe just talk us through that one.
That one I was going to pick as one of my favourites.
There we go.
It worked out really well.
Yeah. Is that on a small sketch pad? I can't work out whether it's like A4 or is it a bit smaller?
Oh, you're talking about this one. Sorry, I thought you were talking about another one. I've done a couple of Octo. Yes, that one.
Yeah.
That's on a sketch pad. So I sometimes do sketchbooks. Now I don't, because it frustrates me. It's like you do one page that's ugly and then you hate the whole sketchbook. So I've got like half finished sketchbooks everywhere. It's I don't really, I'm still getting over it. And then just on a tangent, if you want a pretty sketchbook, you can't use it as a true, learning sketchbook, because if you're just doing bad sketches, that's how you learn. But if you want a pretty sketchbook, there's a lot of pressure and it just has to look pretty, and then it's a little bit fake. So that's me having a pretty sketchbook, and I've only got probably one of those that worked. That one I like because it's a little bit looser, probably because it's in a sketch pad. Yeah. And I just really like, we'll probably talk about it later, but Octo and how they've done their different iterations. And I'm a big fan of them.
Cool. And I've got one more that I picked out, and I'm going to butcher the pronunciation. It's Otsuka Lotek. It's their number 6, and I saw the brand on Instagram, and it's just totally like a bonkers way to design a watch. It's almost like, I don't know. I remember because my dad's an engineer, a sound engineer, and he would go on and like test things to see whether like current ran through them, and it would like peak up and peak down depending on whether the current ran through. And that's what I kind of think of when I see this watch. It makes me think of family as well. So maybe just talk a little bit about that one, because again, there's so much going on in that watch. Explain a little bit more.
I picked that one because it was so unique. It was very interesting, the way that, it was showing time, like you said. I'd love to see one in person. So it was, and it also had a lot of texture, which is another reason. And then just the design and the what an interesting watch.
Cool. Did you see it in person, did you say?
No, I came across it on Instagram, and I think one of my someone I follow was looking at it or had purchased it, and I thought, what a great watch.
Yeah, I don't know whether it comes out of Japan. I think maybe it's just you can get it Japan only, and it doesn't ship. But I absolutely love this watch, and I think you've got because it is like grayscale, like grey tone. You've captured it really well. Because it's very industrial as a watch.
Yes, and I love that.
Just before she jumps in with her favourite of her own, I do have a favourite, and that is the Roger Smith watch. I think it was the movement, with the engraved movement, Series 1. Wow, what a drawing. Incredible detail. Incredible detail. And what I loved as well as all the engravings and the kind of small detailing and the colors, is also the use of video, which was on the second slide. And then also a feature from, is it your cat?
He was just lying around.
So that's quite nice. It was quite charming as well to have that as part of your.
Every time I draw, stepping all over everything.
So incredible drawing, and lovely to meet your cat via the post.
This one I quite like.
Oh yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah.
I would love a reverso. I'm going to save up for it.
Definitely.
It's good because you're using more. You're using more of your like artistic flair than just drawing what the reverso is. You're adding those things in.
So there's that one, and also that's my reverso. So having it in front of me is very helpful too.
Now I'm just very jealous that you have one.
Tiffany and Co.
This Patek, because it came out sort of loose and just vintage looking, which I also like. It's just effect wise, I quite like that one.
It's got the moon phase, is that right as well?
It does. It does have the
love a good moon phase.
Wow, that's incredible.
The last one. Oh, here's the one you were talking about, Zach. There it is in person.
Yeah, that's so good. Because again, I like aesthetics, as I've said, and how an inside of a watch is, I'm just not really fussed by. But actually, that is artistic. That is a work of art, I think. So to draw that, and to encapsulate that is really good.
Then the last one is, I quite like this one.
Oh, nice!
Wow.
Just the octo.
Almost feels like it's like moving. It's almost like a water spiraling sort of. Yeah, it's really good.
you go. Those are my favorites.
Yeah, and also they're not ones I picked. You see, so we've all got our favorites and what draws the eye and that kind of thing. So it's incredible. I was a bit worried that I'd pick all the ones that everyone likes, but obviously people like different things.
I think it might have been me.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
cool, great. Should we kick on with some more questions? I don't know who was next. Zach, was it you or me? I don't know now.
So, with the next question, which is, do you prefer
Far away,
drawing vintage or modern watches? I know you have a bit of array and a bit of both. What would you say is your favorite?
Probably vintage, just from personal preference, aesthetic wise. I like vintage watches. I draw a lot of modern because, you know, they're new and interesting, or something I've come across, and you get better high resolution photos than trying to hunt down vintage photos.
I also sorry Tim, before you jump in there, I also wonder, like Tim mentioned, we love vintage, so it's good to find fellow vintage lovers. We also love vintage because there's more to it, like there's a story to it. So I wonder if that kind of translates through creating the art. It's kind of like painting a brushed finish, like perfect looking watch, or painting a watch that's a bit, you know, has been worn, has a bit scratches. I wonder if that kind of adds to the, you know, to the finished pieces that you do.
It does. In that, yeah. Story-wise, it does, and also sort of aesthetic-wise, I prefer that. And also, it's like, you know, looking at old art pieces as well. It's a reflection of the times. You think about like Art Deco, that's what people liked at that time, and other sort of watches reflects how people wore them, where people, you know, would wear their watches. So there's a lot to think about. Also, like, you know, when you look at an artwork from the particular period, whether, you know, it was at the time of an industrial revolution or some sort of other, you know, social or economic event. You can see that, and you can also see that in things that people wear fashion-wise, and then also accessories like watches.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you want to draw Lyon watches, you know, macro cabochon with all like the cracks and, you know, fractures in it. It's really incredible, isn't it? Yeah. Cool. So is there like a watch, like one watch or style that you could bring back from a brand, and like, you know, what would it be? Like I said, for me, I love Omega, vintage Omega, and it'd be the sort of Omega Constellation pie pan, but not only a pie pan, the one with the arrowhead markers. I've always wanted one. Yeah. I've seen a few, some have slipped through my fingers, some haven't been of like that good a quality, and I've stepped away. The price still keeps going up and up and up. I almost can't justify it because of the price now, but if I saw a pristine one that's 70, 80 years old, I think I might just pull the trigger and get it, because for me, that is a perfect watch in terms of aesthetics. Absolutely love it. So if there was, I mean, is there a watch that no longer exists anymore that you'd love to bring back? You know, just, you know, if there's an answer there, then let our listeners and viewers know.
I'll just talk about the pie pan because I've been watching that for a little while too, and the price keeps going up. There's one guy on YouTube and on Instagram that does vintage Omegas, and he sells.
Yes, indeed. He's Canadian, right? Are we talking about the same guy?
I don't know. I can't remember, but he does also videos on, you know, what to look out for.
Okay, yeah,
as well. Yeah. I can't quite remember, but I went through a phase where I just like watched all his stuff and then was convinced I really needed one. I still am convinced I need one, but then I look at the price, especially for a gold one, and I'm like, So yeah, that would be really nice to bring back in the right size as well. But for me, I was very excited when I heard UG was coming back. So very excited to see what they will bring out. Yeah. My mother has a gold quartz Universal Genève that I was wearing in university before I really knew anything about the brand. So yeah, I'm really excited about that.
So you're one of the cool kids then. I was only to watch this a couple of years ago, but if someone was like rocked up at like that age, you'd be like, yeah, I've got like a UG or whatever. You'd be like, well, that's really impressive. So yeah, but it's subtle as well. So it's not like, oh, here's my Rolex, whatever, that I bought for $100,000 or something. That is like, you know, a respectable person's watch. That is, yeah. Very, very good.
Oh, thank you. I had no idea what I was wearing. Like, I was like, this is a nice watch, and it was my mum's watch. Now I go to her, I'm like, why did you not get a mechanical one? You know, there's so many UGs that were there. And she said that sort of at that time, quartz was you know, technology and the future, and
exactly.
You know, it's gold. So it wasn't cheap back then. It's very cheap now. But yeah, that sort of embodied what they thought was cool at the time.
Yeah, because that's why I've got into watches as well. Like, for me, these are family heirlooms. When my sons get married or like get a house or something, when it's like a rite of passage, I want to hand one of the watches over. I don't know whether being at university, they're how do I put this? Obviously not yourself, but whether they're mature enough. I would, if they had a vintage, Omega, I'd be like, you're going to lose this on a night out, and that's going to be a lot of money down the drain. So that's why I think if they get married or they buy a house, they might be more sensible by then. But who knows? They might run away at 16 and marry someone. So who knows?
University is a little bit too young to have like a really nice watch. Although a lot of kids now have really nice watches at uni. So there you go.
No, exactly. And it's good we mentioned the pie pattern as well. Again, I just feel like Omega and the Constellation range they've got at the moment, they're just not doing enough with it. It's just like sitting on the shelf. Obviously, they went deep down, Speedmaster, they went deep down on the Seamaster, particularly with the Bond stuff. But if they brought back some of the vintage stuff from the 50s with the Constellation, they'd be on to a winner, I think.
Yeah, and sort of what's left of the Constellation. The Constellation is really popular in Asia. So I know in China, a lot of people have Constellations. And a lot of my sort of parents' generation have Constellations as well. But they haven't really updated that into a modern look that, people sort of, even in Asia or the West, that could go, wow, I really want this. Yeah, Omega just has so much that you want to, you hope that they do something with it.
Yeah, and you mentioned Universal Genève. Again, a grower watch for me, not just the Calatrava for Patek, but it's the tri-compacts that UG have. Again, they've gone up and up and up. It's going to be years, maybe even a decade before they update that one and bring it out, because it seems like it's going to be a slow burn. But I'm glad Breitling have done it. But for me, the tri-compacts is a grower watch for me. I don't know about yourself, if you've got a favourite UG.
I don't, so I'm just going to wait. Because I feel like if I, have my eye on one and then they don't do it, I'm going to be very disappointed. But there's a lot in the catalogue that I would like to see, hopefully in a price that's reasonable and in a size.
It won't be.
I know.
Sure. So, what is your favourite watch brand, and do you have a reason why particularly?
I like Cartier.
That's a yeah. I
Because
was also going to say that. That's quite, it's kind of shown, isn't it, so far, that Breguet and Cartier are your favourites in subtle ways. But yeah.
Is it because you're an artist, though? Is it because and you like aesthetics? Because again, the most popular watch brand in the world seems to be Rolex. I have no idea why, and I'm not going to poo-poo it anymore, but I'm just saying I find it very hard to understand why people like Rolexes when you've got so much beauty like Cartier. And also a lot of Rolexes speak more to men than to women, whereas Cartier have got this wonderful story of watches. I think they're unisex as well, and art should be universal. So I just feel, is it because you're drawn to Cartier because of your artistic flair, or is it just because it's Cartier? I mean, you don't have to there's no right or wrong answer, but I'm just interested to understand what drew you to it.
I think over time I realised I like three things when it comes to putting sort of watches to, and just, things in general onto paper or onto canvas or, drawing them. And that's the shape, texture and colour. Cartier usually has at least two. And so it works really well. And also it's interesting when you wear it and you look at it and it's got distinctive things that are in the design that you can appreciate. So that's why I like Cartier.
Cool. So I saw on one of your Instagram posts, it sounds like stalking, so I really apologize, but I saw you've got a phone case. You've got a phone case to one of your designs. Is that right, or did I just make that up?
That's right.
Okay. So what a great idea. What gave you that idea? Are you going to plan on make any more? Because I would definitely buy one.
Look, I thought about when I was doing it, I was like, if I could make a few, but then it's actually, I was on Casetify trying to buy a phone case, and then it's like, create your own. I thought, I'll do that. So that's how I got my phone case. It's a bit of a hassle to do it, to be honest.
Oh, really?
You put it in and they email you. So it's a little bit of a process, especially if you're putting artwork on there. They've just got a million questions. So you just got to deal with that. It's not, unless you work in collaboration with Casetify, it's a one-off thing for you. But it was really nice. Also a little bit shy to have like a piece of your artwork on your phone that you're carrying around everywhere, but it was fun while I had it. I've since changed my phone, so I'll think about whether I want another one.
Nice. You should definitely do it. Like I said, you should do it as and sell them if you want to. I think it'd be incredible. You definitely get a lot of people. Like, I would love to buy one. I think it's incredible artwork. And I've actually got some canvases that I've just ordered the other day of my Instagram shots that I'm going to put up on the wall here.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Because I saw Somlo in London have got some amazing shots that like high res of some of their great watches, and the price to sell them on print is just silly money. And I thought, well, I'm not bad at taking Instagram photos, so why don't I get high res ones and put them on canvas? That's what I'm doing. I'm not selling them, obviously, 'cause no one would want to buy them. But no, I think you could go for this watch cases, bags. It'd be great. So I'm very impressed with that.
Yeah,
very impressed.
indeed. Yeah. So do you ever design watches which don't yet exist, or like your own ideas? I guess that kind of plays into the creative side. So yeah, any watches that don't exist or your own ideas.
No, I don't think I do. So, like when a watch comes out, I do the thing that everyone else does where, oh, I wish it didn't have this or I wish it had that. But I think I've ever gone and actually changed or done something. But yeah,
That's quite.
I feel like that's another territory that's sort of in the design territory that I haven't touched. But
I feel like we all kind of do that, to be honest. But I was
just
also going to
sit there
mention
and I
that.
make comments
So your
saying, oh, why
creative
does it
kind
have a
of
date like
side
this?
comes with focusing on a watch that actually exists, but then also weaving in the creative element to it. So like how you showed us with that JLC, kind of like with the branches wrapping around. So you take a watch that's kind of like known, a brand that's out there, and then that's your creative side, like adding an element to it, would you say? Or at times with some of the shots, some of the products.
Yeah, so I'm probably at the let's do an interpretation of something that exists stage. I haven't sort of gone out and think, oh, this would be my ideal watch and do that. I feel like that's more of a design. Maybe sort of conceptually I could come up with one. I don't think I'd be very good at it. I'm picky enough with things that already exist.
That's really cool. I mean, I was going to use the word Franken watch, like Frankenstein watch, but Frankenstein sounds very pejorative. But I mean, like I said, I would love like a cabochon just like thrown onto a Patek or something. So I'd like to take the bits of other great watches and throw it together. That would be good.
Yeah, I'd love that. I don't know if Cartiers still do this anymore, but you could customize a watch. I feel like that would be really fun. But you branch it out into everything. So I want, brigade hands, but I also want this.
Yeah. And the old watch brands did collaborate. So I saw again on Instagram just before we came on a reverso, but with Cartier. So it's got obviously the Cartier name on the front of it. So I know we've got like Swatch and the Moon Swatch with Omega, but it'd be amazing if another watch. Yeah, exactly. But if it stepped over the aisle, if JLC went, oh, do you know what? We're going to work with Breitling or something, and we're going to meld the best bits of our watches together and make this non-Franken watch. I think I'd be all in. But I suppose they're quite in their lane, aren't they? They don't want to sort of spread across, but that would be pretty cool if you ask me.
Yeah, I do. It's just in one of the questions that's sort of mentioned later. But what I really want to see more in sort of horology and art is collaboration.
Yeah.
Sort of like a crossover between watch and art, and that might be with working with artists, or it might be taking inspiration from things that are outside of watches and horology. I mean, Cartier and Seiko take inspiration from so many things. I feel like a lot of watch brands don't. And also working with artists like Bulgari do that so well. They work with architects, and they've also worked with artists to make interpretations of their Octo Finissimo. So absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's really good. You make a really good point there. Because we're talking about Breguet, I like their Type 20, but then they put a stupid like date window between the 4 and the 5, and I'm like, why have you done that? And obviously break symmetry, which I absolutely despise the breaking of symmetry, and obviously unless it's the crash. But it's just I don't know why they do that. So if I was making the ultimate watch, I'd be like, get rid of it, just throw it away, and just keep it pristine. But there we go. I do like the Type 20. Yeah. Cool. So have I got the next question? I think I have. Yes. What's in store for the future for you? Any commissions? You know, I haven't even asked. I've been quite polite, but is it something you just do because you love it, or does someone, you know, on Instagram say, "Oh, I've got this watch. I'd love you to draw it," or someone whisper in your ear and say, "Can you draw this for me? You know, my dad's got this really old Omega. I'd love it if you for a Christmas present or birthday present." Or then you sort of, and if it's not commission based, you're not going to set up and run a business for this. Are there any like new watches you want to tackle going forward, sort of in your personal life, watches that you haven't drawn yet, but you definitely want to do sort of going forward?
It's a bit of a hybrid situation at the moment. So I started off with, pure passion. And then people ask me if I draw their watches, and my answer's always been no, because I didn't want to make it into a business, and also my day job takes up a lot of time, so I didn't want to have the stress of making it a commercial relationship. This year I started taking commissions, but only from brands and retailers. So that's been quite fun. And it's fun because most of the time they come to me because they want to create something special. They want to give something special to their customers when they buy their particular watch. So part of that gift giving that, I find quite fun.
No, that's really cool. That is really cool. We'll have to go find these watch brands and then buy something from there. You have to buy it from Australia, or can we buy it from the UK store and then you'll ship it over?
One thing that is, that I don't find out is where it goes.
Okay. Is that intentional?
I generally know what country, but but because it's a gift, I mean, they also have their privacy in terms of their clients, but I hope they like it.
So if you see it on a wall somewhere, then you'll be like, oh, or a phone case somewhere, you'll know.
Well, if you get one, let me know,
No, exactly. What about new watches to tackle? Is there anything that you've got on your mind that you've been putting off that you want to do in 2025?
Probably stone dials. I'd like to sort of see how that works, because they're
coming back, aren't they?
Texture. Yeah. So let's see. Yeah.
Yeah, I do indeed. So what's your view on the state of the watch industry, would you say? And do you have any high hopes for any brands in the future, particularly?
I don't know, maybe the next year is a year that it will happen. So yeah, we'll see. I just think there's so much potential. There's so much potential there and so much in the catalogue. So hopefully, they do things that they'll release something that will blow our minds. But yeah, we'll see. In terms of the watch industry, I feel like we've gotten pickier recently, in the recent years. I don't know about you, but I certainly feel like I've gotten pickier. Like we had a big, a couple of years of, COVID and spending, and now I feel like we're just a little bit pickier. So maybe they'll need to work a little bit harder.
Yeah, the brands need to work harder. They're very conservative. A lot of them, are very conservative. And I know why that is, because, these things are 100, 150 years old. Things have done well to begin with. So, why change it? But brands like Nomos, Oris as well, there's so many dial colors, and some of them work and some of them don't, but they're not afraid. So I think I think brands need to step up and sort of work more for the cash that we want to part with. So I think, I'd probably agree with you. I don't know about you, Zach.
Not wanting to do it wrong, wanting to kind of like reduce experimentation, because there's tried and tested kind of models and designs that have worked. But yeah, I guess that's why independent brands have kind of come up quite a bit, in conversation, with these amazing watches coming from different independent brands. So I feel like in one way, I kind of feel like the kind of larger brands, I feel like they can do more to try and innovate and to step out of the box a bit. But then I also kind of quite like how this has kind of given a gap for the kind of new brands to come through with kind of fresh ideas, and people are kind of catching on and realizing actually we can actually step out like the big four or the big five, or how many you want to put up there in terms of the leading watch brands.
I think it's made people a lot more critical of lazy updates and lazy releases. At least I've seen that recently. It's like, wow, that's what you give now, especially when compared with, other brands that look like they really thought about it and they're out there. Even if it doesn't work, like Tim said, at least they're trying something new.
No, sounds good. So I got the penultimate question, I think, and then Zach, you've got the last. So how do you sort of envision the future of like horological art, say in the next 5 years? I don't know if there's a little community of artists doing watches, and you get together and you're like, what am I going to do next? But just fascinated to see from your own sort of professional perspective, where you think that's going to go in terms of, I don't know, aesthetics, types of materials used, whether sort of art more generally is going to sort of explode or get have more of a niche with watches. So the floor is yours to sort of try and open that question up.
Yeah, look, I don't know in terms of, artists that draw watches. I feel like because this is a side hobby for me and it's pure passion that I don't sort of think about it as much as I probably should. I hope that artists who, who do this, they actually they're quite popular and I see it quite often. So I'm really glad to see that. In terms of what I've experienced, like brands, having artwork as gifts, I feel like that's, that's a step that I hadn't seen before, at least for me. Also, I talked to a couple of brands that thought, especially with things like texture and jewels, that they look nice in artwork and they feel like maybe paintings don't show because not paintings because photographs are flat, that maybe your painting can show that part of their artwork, the part of their watch a little bit more. What I do hope, like I mentioned before, is that there's more collaboration between sort of artists or museums or things like that and watches. I feel like that would expand our horizons. You see that with with fashion as well. Fashion is a necessity, but they've gone way beyond that and into really art and expression and interpretation, all sorts of things. So I'm hoping that watches can see more collaboration and then break our boundaries and surprise us with something new in the future years.
No, definitely. I mean, I went to the Science Museum for work, the London or British Science Museum the other week. And there was, a section on horology, but it's all sort of, 100, 200 years ago. And it's all sort of dead white men, with something that they made all those years ago. But to have, like you said, like art galleries showcasing yourself or others, I think would be really, really good. And even just like the fronts of, like watch boutiques, a lot of these brands spend a lot of time creating them, but to actually like have an artist like yourself or others perhaps design some of these things would be really cool as well, because it's about your interpretation of their brand, and then it might bring other people in to the watch sort of community that wouldn't necessarily think about buying a watch because they think X, Y, and Z about them, but they see your art and they're drawn in. So I suppose it's a way of advertising, but not necessarily in a commercial sense, but maybe more, like I said, aesthetically through art. So I could talk a lot about this actually. We've been going for a long time already, but just these ideas are popping into my head as we're speaking. So yeah.
When you talk about interpretation, it brings another side to something that's just an object. I don't know if you looked up Bulgari, but they've recently worked with a French artist. He's a conceptual artist, and and also the architects that they've worked with. It's not just putting a painting on an artwork. It's an artist looking at the Bulgari watch and saying, here is me adding an intellectual conceptual side to it and doing an interpretation that's very much based on that watch. And I think it's amazing. I just like more watch brands, please do that. I know Hublot does that a little bit. Like they had recently collaborated with an artist and turned a pocket watch into like a water droplet. And it's like, wow, it's really, that's changing sort of how you would wear or see a pocket watch. So I'd like to see more of that. And with museums, they put things in there that show a certain imagination, or it's a reflection of society at the time, which is probably why it's in the historical section. You see, just pocket watches from the past. But fashion is in there because it says something about society and it says something about, there's a commentary or there's something new with materials. So maybe we'll see that with watches.
Definitely have the honor of the final question, and I've been enjoying the answers so far. So how do you think the watch industry represents and represents women, and what do you think should change, if do you think there's anything lacking specifically?
I feel like if you asked me this, 3 or 4 years ago, I'd say something like case size, or just really expensive precious metal jeweled quartz watches. But I think watch brands have actually improved on this. And Nomos recently came out with a smaller club. Their 36 is really nice, but they have really long lugs. So I have the 34 on loan. It fits perfectly. So, and it's not just Nomos. A lot of other brands have had smaller case sizes or just more options for wearability. I feel like we've seen that change. And also, the really expensive high-end jewelry, which I also like. You're starting to see automatic movements in those as well. So I know Piaget has now an automatic Limelight Gala. I think they're trying. I think it has been changing, and also sort of the older I get, the more zen I am. So I'm hoping that it just continues.
I don't get more zen. I get more stressed. When I retire, I'll be less stressed. But there we go. It's a long way off. And many more watches in time, I think, hopefully, that I gather on my travels. Oh, very good. Very good. Cool. We're going to go to we're going to go to Patek now. So as I said, I have some things to say about it, but Zach, I'm looking to you to say a little bit more. So why don't we start with the watch that I do love, and it is a Grail watch, and that is a vintage Calatrava. As I said, it's a Grail watch for me in terms of vintage Grail watch. The 1950s one in particular, it's the reference 96, and they've got a rarer 2526. I just love the simple design cues. I said before, if you got like my 4-year-old or 2-year-olds, well, maybe not 2-year-old, but 4-year-old to draw a watch, what does it look like? They would have the basic shape like a Calatrava. This is what a watch should be. And for me, that it's just simplicity in that beauty. You've got the sort of gold dolphin hands. You've got the gold indices, which include like the traditional sub-second dial. Some of them have sub-second, some of them don't. I definitely have one with a sub-second dial. They've got tiny dots around like the minute track, which really make it for me. And in my sort of desk research, I found they're called appliques. They're applique dot markers. So I've learned something definitely on this show. But I didn't know what they were at first, but I was really drawn to them. There are many other versions that I don't sort of particularly favour, namely the more modern versions as you'd expect. There's one with like an offset subdial at the 4 position. I think it's referenced 5026. Yeah, don't really like that. But it does have the lovely Breguet style hands. So it does have something that can save it. Some sort of Z, you'll back me up there. And then the other is sort of got like bezel motifs, which I don't really like. I think there's like a hobnail on the bezel. I don't know why they brought that in.
Sure, definitely. I think you're definitely right about it being a Grail vintage piece for sure. It's definitely one that I've looked at. And when I'm speaking about Calatravas, I'm definitely speaking about more of the vintage, so the ones that you kind of referenced, as they're the ones that are a bit more favourable to me. I love its slim profile. It also has subtle dial finishes, such as the lacquered, open lane, or however you say it, and also silver dial finishes, which I absolutely love. I love the variation. I also think it's like a perfect dress watch. I do understand it's understated, also, but not overlooked. So that's also great about it. I also love the great bezel options. It being polished, flat. You don't like the hobnail, but I definitely feel like that's something quite unique. And I have seen some variations of like a yellow gold hobnail Calatravas, and I absolutely love them. So I guess that's kind of a subjective thing, but I like that bit of a detail. Yeah, definitely. If there's options, I'm taking that one, and I'll give you the other one. That's a promise. Um, but yeah, I love the minimalistic design on the dial as well. I think often like watch brands feel like putting more things on there also make it more popular, more sophisticated. But I also feel the other side is true. So having minimalistic, easy legible dials is quite a nice look. Also love the classic round case shapes. So yeah, that's what I kind of love about the Calatrava. But how about you, G? Does any of that kind of resonate? What's your thoughts on it?
think of vintage Calatrava as like peak beauty in terms of watches. You look at it and you just think, well, this is what a watch, a really nice watch looks like. I still spend a lot of time on the collectability website because they just have really nice, vintage Pateks that I can't afford, but it's like, wow. The first vintage Patek that I thought, wow, this is beautiful is the 3940, and I still think that one is sort of top.
Yeah,
But yeah, there's not much to say. It's
that is
just,
true.
it's
That is true.
perfect.
It is the perfect watch, but not for
Yeah.
the perfect price.
So leading on to the next, which is a very popular watch within the industry, which is the Nautilus. Everyone kind of knows this model. For me, it's one of the most iconic luxury sports watches. I think many would agree. I love its elegant and sporty look. I feel like it does both quite well. Whether you kind of dress it up or dress it down, you can wear it with a t-shirt, but just not in London. And you can also wear it with a suit. I feel like it's a watch that showcases Gerald Genta's iconic porthole design, which also makes it a classic. And what a genius man he was when it comes to design. Also a watch that has absurd secondhand market prices. Especially for the steel models. So yeah, insanity for secondhand market prices, but take it as you will. Not sure if I'll ever own one, but I can say that I like the look of them. Probably don't really like the way people kind of treat them, because I guess it's more of like a investment piece. I do believe that you should buy a watch that you enjoy. There's no fun just having a watch that just sits in a safe. But like I said, in London, it's probably best off it sitting in a safe, unfortunately. But yeah, what's your thoughts on it, Tim?
First of all, why didn't you just buy a Cartier crash, for the money, or that Baignoire Allongée? That's what you need to do. That's what you need to do. So I think I'm betraying what my thoughts are going to be. I'm concerned. I'm going to say the same thing as I do a lot about Rolex models. I don't really like it. Be that the hands, the dial, the shape, the case, the date window. I'm probably committing watch heresy saying it. And I don't want this watch podcast to be about things we don't like. It's about things we love. But at a push, I do like the brushed bezel. I think that is nice. It's hardly revolutionary or standing out. And we talked about the prices. And like I said, I'd rather have a crash or an asymmetrique, for example. I mean, if I was a banker or robbed a bank, then I'd go for these classy Cartiers over the soulless and dull Patek Nautiluses, I'm afraid. The only exception is that vintage Calatrava. So, Xi, I don't know what you think about the Nautilus. Perhaps correct me. Obviously, I must be clearly wrong because everyone else loves them.
I appreciate the design. I think it works really well for a sports watch, and it was ahead of its time. And just, in terms of that, I can see the beauty. I think it comes with too much baggage that I can't unsee when I look at it now. So that's a little bit unfortunate. Timmy, we're just going to get comments in the YouTube, like, you're just
exactly
saying that because you don't have a Patek. We'll just be...
Well, I'd rather have a Calatrava reference 96, right? And I think that's a more discerning individual than the Nautilus. But there you go. There you go. Cool. I think we're going to move on to, I think I'm going to talk about the Ellipse. Is that right, Zach? I think I am. So I don't mind it. I like the thinness of the case. And I think they have them in like a blue or like black sort of sunburst, sort of clean dial. I think they're more dress watchy. I suppose a bit like the Calatrava again.
Definitely. I've definitely seen a fair few on my explore page. Like we've mentioned, being a fan of vintage, I feel like the Ellipse definitely comes up in conversation quite a lot. Often in that blue kind of sunburst style, clean dial, which you mentioned. I'm a big fan of it. I like not Cartier, rather past Cartier. I like Patek's bold departure from its like traditional watch shapes. So going for something kind of like a bit more oblong shaped, which was quite cool to see. I love the simplicity Also with the Calatrava dial, kind of like similar design language with the simplicity of the dial. I love its recognizable curved lines, which kind of adds a kind of nice aesthetic to the watch. I do kind of believe like the Calatrava, it's kind of has an understated beauty, and I love that it comes with many different precious metals kind of options. So yeah, I'd say I'm a fan of their lips. I wouldn't say I'm ecstatic over it, but I can definitely admire and appreciate its beauty.
Cool. Z, do you have any comments on it? Have you seen them before? Have you drawn one before?
I have drawn one before and I have seen one before.
Oh, nice.
I like it. So when it was reissued or it was re-released, was it this year? I can't remember when it was when they re-released it. I was very excited, and then I realised it was humongous. At least.
Oh, really? I didn't realise that. I thought it'd be quite small and dainty, but is it? Oh, I have to go check after this. I think see how large.
So I seem to remember seeing someone wear it, and I was like, oh, that's a little bit big. Last time I was in Hong Kong, there were quite a few ellipses, vintage ones for sale, and the prices were okay. So I'm going back next week, and I think I will be disappointed because the prices will be higher.
You have to send us a photo with the price. We'll have to convert it from Hong Kong dollars to pound sterling.
I think it's very beautiful. It's also very thin, and a lot of the bracelets are precious metal and just really, jewelry sort of mesh done really well. I also really like squarish watches. So this hits where, being a fan of the Cartier Tank and Santos, it sort of hits me there as well. But it's also round. So it's soft, but it's got that really strong shape. It's just very simple. It doesn't distract from the color. So the blue is just really predominant. Everything else is really thin. And just
Definitely.
Really
so the next is another super popular model within the watch industry, or model that's spoken about quite often, and that's the Aquanaut. The Aquanaut, I'm a fan of the Aquanaut. I love it. I love the simple, clean, and sporty look. I love sports watches, which might quite sound quite cliche for a young guy, but I think they're hard to beat. Especially because you'll be more likely to wear a sports watch or at an event, which can allow you to wear a sports watch rather than a dress watch. I feel like dress watches are more for an occasion. They're super rare and considered quite a good investment as well. So I guess, of course, like I mentioned, it's good to buy something you enjoy and you wear. But then it's also quite nice to know that you haven't just put money down the drain, because I'm pretty sure we've all been in a position where we bought something we loved but tanked in monetary value. I also love the rubber strap that contrasts very well with the case. I love the black strap is quite nice, but for me, the orange strap with kind of like the orange hands, or I think it's the orange third hand, just looks amazing, and the dial's super legible. So I'd say I'm a big fan of the Aquanaut, but given its kind of price point, I'm not too sure I'll ever own one. Who knows? Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but there isn't much for me to like about it. If I'm digging deep, Zach, maybe the brushed bezel is a nice feature. But you've spoken well and positive about it. I congratulate you. I am struggling for nice things to say. See, I don't know what you think about it.
I think it works well as a sports watch. And then I'm with Tim.
Yeah. Well, we love our Cartiers, so Patek isn't going to beat that, is it? Unless it's the Calatrava.
I've been pretty positive with every single model until we got here. I'm not too sure I have anything positive to say, other than the fact, not to sound too harsh, other than the fact that we kind of spoke about big brands not willing to step outside of the box. No pun intended. It is kind of a box-shaped watch. When we do say stepping out of the box or doing something different, I don't know if we wanted this exactly, but Patek being Patek, I feel like the Cubitus definitely will kind of gain some sort of popularity just because of the brand. I guess they have a good way of marketing things. People are a big fan of all the other Pateks. But for me, let's strip the name and let's look at the watch. I don't think it's particularly attractive, and I don't really slander much watches, but I don't really find it particularly attractive. So yeah, given the money, which I don't have to buy this watch, all the connections to buy this watch, I would probably say I'd pick another watch, a more classic watch in that case. But I don't know. This all being said, there are a few watches that have come out in the previous years, and I've been like, not for me. But then I've grown to love them, so maybe we have a case of that. But I don't know. What's your thoughts on it, Tim?
Unsurprisingly, I do not favour this watch. It's got similar design cues to the Nautilus, which, as I've said, I struggle to like. I suppose it's a hype watch, right? Like some RM watch that is just ghastly, but then millionaires have them, and there we go. But I'm going to stop there because I'm venturing into saying very unflattering things about watches, which is not good for a watch podcast. And we're not there to get clicks and clickbait and that kind of stuff. This is about the beauty and love of watches. But it sounds like we don't favour this watch. But Z, I don't know if you've got anything nice to say about it, or any artistic, aesthetic things you could dig deep for.
I pulled up a really large picture of it because, I know what it looks like. It just turned me by myself. The thing is, like, the Nautilus is still elegant, I think, for a sports watch. It's got, really elegant lines. And I think it works well. This is like if you took the Nautilus and took that out of it, you get the Cubitus. I feel like if they'd gone all out, they should have done something with the bracelet as well. But it doesn't quite match. Like, just go all out and do, I don't know, more squarish bracelets or go, with the theme. The problem, I think, with it is that the Cartier Santos also exists. And when you put those side by side, it's like, money-wise and also design-wise.
No, exactly.
Absolutely.
So I think as we draw this to a close, I think what we're trying to say is if you could afford something, buy a Calatrava, don't buy any of the others. I think that's the line we're going to draw on. But there we go. Yeah. So I'm going to do the outro now. So there you have it. Top quality episodes. I think probably one of our best. I love talking to people in the watch community with specific passions and skills, not just, I have a watch and we chat about it. Someone who's got something that other people don't have, and that just makes it fascinating. And like I said, I'm certainly no artist. I appreciate art. I think Xi's work is incredible. Delighted that we could have you on to sort of share that with more and more people. We discussed Patek, Calatrava, as I said, it's a grail watch for me. So while I don't favour necessarily the others, like the Nautilus, I'm just fully behind the simple and stylish Calatrava in all its glory. So that was our second foray into YouTube, bringing you the Timekeepers, showcasing Xi's art, and hopefully we brought it more to life doing it that way than just a podcast and people listening. But if you're on the podcast, click on all her links that we provided after this. Do check her out. You'll absolutely love her work. And also Timekeepers has been going for a whole year. So that's 12 monthly episodes under our belts. Thank you for the little clap there. Really grateful to those who've tuned in. And also special thanks to Zach, who agreed to team up with me and sort of bring our takes to the watch community. So what's planned for 2025? You'll have to find out and keep listening and watching. If there's any subjects that you want us to cover, then let us know in the comments, and obviously, Instagram us a message. So really for me, it's very Merry Christmas, peaceful New Year to you and your family from, as fellow timekeepers. And it's goodbye from our very special guest, Xi.
Thanks, guys. And thanks, Tim and Zach, for having me.
No worries. And it's goodbye from Zach at Source Watches. And it's goodbye for me at Watchwords. Goodbye. Have a good Christmas.